Rudy said to me many years ago, and I may have already talked about this in class, but it seems very relevant. He said, Bruce, you're never going to have your fantasy, which was really painful. And I remember hearing that, and I said, well, wow, Rudy, what am I going to get? And he said, your reality. Which felt somewhat comforting. And of course this is true for all of us. I've always told people that fantasy is living on some sort of Caribbean island, sun all day long, nice breeze, beautiful water, and mosquitoes and tarantulas. The idea of perfect anything as something other than this is where everyone gets in trouble. The search for and the desire for a perfect state that somehow is free of human suffering, free of life as we know it, is not attainable, I don't think, on the earth. I think it's important to understand early on that life is up and down, up and down, up and down. Period. Sometimes it's up, down, and sometimes it's up, down, and a long down, and then it up. It all is variable. It's kind of how the coaster is built, you know. You don't know what you're going to get, but it will be a ride. And we're all on it. Everyone in this room is on it. Everyone who's listening to this talk is on the ride. And you may be at the up curve, you may be at the down curve, and very likely wherever you are on the curve, you're going to believe that you're going to be there forever. I finally made it. I'll never make it. It's perfect. It's terrible. That's human nature. It's human life. It can have long duration, and that's scary for people. The idea that pain, absence, suffering can be prolonged. But I will tell you there's an upside to prolonged suffering, and that is you can't deny it. You are staring face to face with reality, and it makes you work. When life isn't delivering what you want, and you can't escape the disappointment, you will turn to a deeper part of your own spiritual practice, or you will turn to drugs and alcohol and sex and food. When drugs, alcohol, sex, and food don't work anymore, there's only one place left. Accept it as it is. Accept what it is. Let me explain one other addiction that keeps you from accepting what it is. It's called meditation. Meditation needs to be like aspirin or Tylenol. Something you can use to help the bumps The minute your meditation becomes heroin, your escape from reality, you're using it badly. Once having a spiritual life becomes a way of separating from your real life, you're using it badly. Wanting your spiritual life so much that you're willing to stop taking care of your family, stop going to work, stop taking care of responsibilities, it's a problem. That's not what it's for. And one of the great things about Rudy and his teaching is that he always kept it in perspective. That spiritual life was this life. He used to say, if you can't do it in New York, you can't do it anywhere. And what he really meant is, it's day to day, 24/7, and it's real. It's not escaping real, it's living in reality. And if you don't like what you're living in and you don't like your reality, change it. Take responsibility for it. Own it. Live it. But don't run away from it, because you can't run away from what's real. It will follow you everywhere. And only you can fix it. Nobody can fix it for you. Nobody. You can sit here begging me to fix you, but I cannot fix you. You can fix you. I can love you, which can be a part of some kind of fix. I can hug you. I can speak what I consider truth to you. It may not be truth, but it's the truth as I understand it right now. And if it registers, you need to listen to it. And what does it mean? It means take responsibility for your life on every level. Own it, whatever is going on. You know, Rudy once went into a classroom, in his classroom when Muktananda was here, and there was a kid who was with Muktananda, and he was sitting for like 24 hours in the front of the classroom in a state of like, I guess bliss or something, I don't know what it was. Rudy ran in there when he realized what was happening, and he grabbed the kid by the hair, pulled him off the stage and said, "Wake up! Wake up!" He was so angry at this kid because he was trying to leave life, not live life. And it was an extraordinary lesson for me. And he was angry at Muktananda for allowing somebody to think that was real, that you could sit in this perfect state and somehow not eat, not sleep, just live in this condition of trance-like, opium-like distance from real life. And he insisted that we live this life as it is. And he gave us a tool to open our hearts, open our mind chakras, open our ability to engage life so we could have really big, full, dynamic lives. And let me tell you, the problem with that is it makes it really uncomfortable sometimes, because you are really going to feel life. You are really going to touch being alive. Meditation through Rudy's practice didn't release you from life, it brought you right into it. Which brings me to my moment in life. You know, you were all part of a wonderful celebration this last week of the opening of this play, and you know how much I have put into this this experience, this musical. And the musical emerged right after this awakening that I had. And it seemed like, why? I'm awakened, why do I have to do a musical? But it was already in process, and there it was. And I said to my friend Bart, who's my real mentor in this awakening situation, and I said, what would Buddha have done if he had his enlightenment and then had to do a Broadway musical? And Bart said, well, we're about to find out. And that was really interesting. So, I threw myself into this with everything. I had an ability to, whenever it got uncomfortable, to sit down and just open to this very deep and very powerful and very beautiful space within. We all have it. The door, we all have a portal. Excuse me. We all have a portal into this exceedingly spacious, vibrant, joyful, blissful state. And we can go there whenever we need to or want to. Most of us can. And if you can't do that, that's part of this practice. Learning how to open the door inside yourself and step in and just... It's not to move in. That's not my teaching. I don't think we need to move into that state. I think that's not totally real. We have it as a refuge. It's a place you go on a cold night. In your life or in your spiritual life or in your emotional life, you can find that place and it renews, it reawakens, it refurbishes, it reconditions you. But it doesn't do it so that you can stay there, it's so you can go back out into the drama of life, into this reality. And the reality of this show has been very dramatic for me. It's provided me with some of the most extraordinarily wonderful, beautiful peak experiences of my life. And then, as you probably are aware, this week, some of the most difficult and painful. I truly believed I was part of creating a very beautiful, loving, joyous work for people. And for whatever reason, the critics in New York did not agree. And I have purposely not read the reviews of this show, which I'm told was wise. But I've certainly found out about them from people who have. I've heard feedback, and it's really painful. It's really kind of ugly for me because I don't understand it. Because you put something out that you think is beautiful and loving and open, and you really open yourself up to all the possibilities that can come from that. And getting slammed in the head was one of them. And of course, that's kind of what's been going on. Putting my head in the sand helped. I really, by not reading reviews, I was able to sustain the joy of this opening experience for quite a few days. But then reality, of course, hits. You raise your head a little bit, and there it is. And people start telling you we're so sorry. Boy, it was terrible, and it was brutal, and I don't know how you survived it, and all of this stuff. And I immediately started to go into this deep funk. And I've been toying with this funk quite a bit for the course of working on this show because it had a lot of moments of very unpleasant and painful drama. I had the choice all along the way to not go there, to actually say, no, I don't need to do that, to enter into the quietude, if you will, of my being, and not have to deal with that stuff. But I consciously and very purposefully said no to that. I just said, live this, live it out. It's going to hurt. But don't try to move away from that. Don't keep rotating. Still. I decided I really needed to experience whatever this was waiting for me. And it felt like it wasn't going to be good, meaning pleasant. Good is something else. The lessons one learns from life are powerful, but you don't learn them if you don't live life. They don't come to you if you skirt it. They don't come to you if you live in a state of, oh yes. There's a story, a great Zen story of a guy who just keeps going, aso, aso, to everything that happens. And horrible things happen, he goes, aso. Beautiful things happen, he goes, aso. Let me explain. That's not detachment. That's being alive. Aso. Horrible things happen. Okay. But not just that they happen. You feel them happen. You really go into the pain of it and you go, aso. And then you have these great, glorious moments, sitting with all of you together in that dinner the night we all shared the play. Gloriously beautiful night. Blanche arranged this perfect moment. For me, a perfect moment. Being with everybody, the beauty of the whole experience. And it went on for the entire weekend. Again, Blanche taking care of making it happen. But it really worked. And so I went from unbelievably beautiful time with my students who I love, and my friends who are students, and my relatives who are friends and not friends. You know, all of these people all converged, and it was beautiful. And then, I mean, again, I avoided reading these things, but I picked up enough to know that I've been kicked in the head 4 different ways or 20 different ways. And I really went into this deep, painful space. And I knew it would change me. I know the whole experience, you have to understand, you don't have to understand, you may not care at all, but I am at the oddest place I've ever been in my entire life, which is the absolute end of my pursuit of career, the end, perhaps even of my interest in spiritual pursuit, the end of everything that I have taken on as purposeful and meaningful in my life. Is just finished, done. I have zero idea what tomorrow morning brings. I have zero idea. I mean, I have a few things on the calendar, but I have nothing ahead of me that's familiar or wanted or expected or meant to be. I'm just going to get up in the morning. I cannot tell you what it will be, but it's a very strange place to arrive at. It's absolutely extraordinary. Could be the most wonderful time ever. Could also be bleak. I have no concept, and I'll report back from the front lines if any of you are sitting here and I'm sitting here. But it is a really fascinating time to have completed your life's work. You know, I don't want to make any more movies. I don't want to write any more musicals. You know, I would like to spend a lot of time with my granddaughter. That's about the biggest draw of the moment. And it's all kind of, I mean, all of that's beautiful, but the sense of being done, the sense of having done it, even spiritually. You know, I was always in my spiritual work reaching for something and reaching for something and reaching for something, and then it was just, I found it was right there. There it is. There's nothing to reach for. So sitting down every day, I don't sit and go, oh God, please help me to get there. What? Where? I'm here. You know? And if I want to go inside and open my heart and just bask in the sweetness of it all, yes, it's available. It's available because I worked with Rudy for years, and I studied his work, and I learned how to open my chakras, and I learned how to find bliss inside and joy and stillness. So, now I wake up in the morning, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. It's definitely an interesting time. I am so grateful that I went through the ups and downs of this experience. I have no idea what its final outcome will be, but none of us know what final outcomes will be. They will be this and this, and this and this, and this and this, and this and this, and you die. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. Because there are experiences down like this that are powerful, and I think meaningful. And there are experiences up here that are like worth coming into the world to touch and experience. You have both. Why not be in this world? Why does one come into this world? I mean, you come into this world to touch life. And so we're all here touching it, and then you get to a point going, yikes, I don't want to touch that. And then you go, get me out of here. And that's exactly the wrong way to get out of here. The only way out of here that's meaningful is to be here. And then when you're really here, there's no such thing as out, because there's nobody to leave. There's nobody to leave it. You are it itself. It's not you and it just is what it is. And you are that. I am that. That's the totality. If you hate it, you hate it. If you love it, you love it. I would rather love it. But there's nothing wrong with hating it. It's real. If that's your ride, if your ride is the ride of misery and hate and disgust and all of that, well, for some reason the universe wants that ride. And you're on it. If you want to change it, the universe wants to change it. And it will help you do that if that's what you want. But if you don't want to do it, it's happy to let you go through your misery. Happy. And it pursues courage, it pursues misery, it pursues uplift, it pursues downdrafts, it pursues everything. The universe reaches in fractal terms in every direction. And you can take any ride you want. And if you don't like your ride, tell them, tell yourself, and it will help you, it will instruct you in how to change it. You can change it. It's your world. It's your world. You can do with it as you want. Your dreams can come true, but you won't have your fantasies. You'll have your reality. And your reality is what you want. A dream coming true is having your reality happen. That's what you want. That's what we all want. And you have the capacity to make it happen, but it takes courage and risk. The willingness to let go of that which is the comfortable way, the easy way, the secure way, and just saying, I will do whatever it takes to make it happen, to make my life rich and wonderful. And nobody seems to have the courage, or very few people have the courage of that. But I know that because I have a marriage that allowed risk to take place within a marriage, and because I had the courage in various positions on my own to change things because I needed to in my life, I got an enormously rich life. Enormously rich and wonderful. And now it's done. Of course it's not done, I'm still sitting here talking to you. But it's done as far as everything I imagined it would be. And nothing else, nothing I need to reach for, really. So how does one live that life? How does one live the life where there is no agenda, no expectation, no drama, no hope for this or for that, just what arrives, or what you decide to build? How do you live that? I mean, I think a lot of people know how. I'm one of the few people who doesn't. And I'm about to find out. So we'll see what happens the next time we gather and I talk about this. But, you know, this is a very unknown ride for me. I have to say, just to clarify something, because I think it's important. Those of you who think you're getting ultimate spiritual truth here, it may not be true. That's all I can tell you. If I'm leading you on a blind path, I really, really apologize. But I'm just telling you this is the journey that I am on. And I say this seriously because I have been concerned in the last few weeks that I'm taking all of you into a blind alley. And I don't really want to do that. It's a blind alley for me. But also I think blind alleys are how you find your way. It's certainly not a path that I can follow that anybody else has charted for me. And nor should any of you be on a path that I chart for you. You're on the path of your own life. And if any of these pointers help you, even if they tell you to go the other way, that's fine with me. I don't care what direction you go. I would like you to know, I sense that we're lucky to be here, that we're lucky to have this life, that there's something to be gained in being real with it. There's something to be gained. We're not here to be punished or to suffer for no reason. I think everything that happens is leading us to some extraordinary truth of our own self and our own being. That's why we're here. And, you know, if you get your fantasy, great. But it won't last long. And if you get your reality, it will be with you forever. Any questions?
Critics are full of themselves.
Maybe, but they're teaching me some lessons.
Yeah. And it seems like that's what they get paid to do, just to be critics.
Well, maybe.
You wonder what it is that they do like.
Well, one thing I understood about my own work is that it's very heart-driven, and that if your filter is intellect-driven, you will have a hard time seeing through that filter. And I do unfortunately have to pass through that filter in terms of the work being reviewed by people out there. And they will present it to the world through that. And there's nothing I can do about that. That's how it works. You know, Christ's teachings, he was killed for what he did. You know, you put it out there as best you can and then hope it survives, or is resurrected, or whatever it is. You know, it is a rough terrain. It's a rough terrain, and it's very hard being publicly, criticized. Although it's all your own drama, really. I mean, and truly, because I haven't read anything, I haven't been that. It's not been that terrible. But when I look in other people's eyes and they go, it's really kind of sad. I mean, I go, I tried. We all tried, and I have to say this was a remarkable group of people who tried to put this show together, and I've been honored to be with them. They're the most creative, talented group of people I've ever worked with. I love them to pieces, and nothing about this experience was wrong for me. This part right now is hard, but what can you do? It's hard.
I keep enjoying the energy of the affirmative celebration of being part of a standing ovation.
That's nice. It's nice. I know. I love it.
My experience.
Well, I have to tell you, whenever I go in the theater, people are still standing. So that's a nice part. No, they don't. They don't.
I think you, just on your own behalf, you should realize that a lot of times the critics go in with preconceived notions and they're comparing your play to everything they've ever seen before, and it was so different that I don't know. I think in retrospect you'll see there's a different take on it.
That may be. That may be. I mean, in the fantasy terms, that's how it works. I mean, the real fantasy was that they all loved it completely and that it was.
Well, they did.
Well, they did. Okay.
Yeah, you're reading the paper upside down.
No, the movie was a big hit. The critics didn't like it either.
That's true. The critics hated Ghost.
So I mean, it's in their heads. They can't feel like that. They're scared to death to feel like that.
Well, I think that's probably the answer. On the other hand, it's still hard to take the knocks. That's all I can tell you.
Don't listen to them.
It's not a matter of listening to them. I wanted to survive financially. I wanted to sort of stay on the boards. I wanted to be on Broadway. And if it loses that because of these guys, that would be sad to me.
No, it's not.
Okay, good.
You said you didn't read the reviews. You're just focusing really on 4 people. There's 4 people who said they didn't like it, and if you saw it posted online, they each had 1,000 people respond. You're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about. It was fabulous. And there's even talk that came out like yesterday that Divine's in for the Tony, and you're one of 3 possibles for the 4th shot.
We have no idea. We have no idea.
So,
but whatever happens.
But the masses, so you, let's get back to the spiritual talk, are being wrecked by 4 people.
I mean,
Instead of thousands who are going, whoa.
Right.
But you can't take responsibility for the glitzy part.
Do you want to hear all this? What?
You didn't put the light show on. I mean, you just were responsible for the words, which are so.
I feel part of the whole thing, and all I can say is I understand what you're saying. It's 4 people in very powerful positions who have a lot of impact.
Right.
And there are thousands of people who are standing every night and really grateful for the energy that's coming through to them. And the actors are really grateful for the energy that comes back to them because they can then be full enough to give it back. And it's a cycle of giving and loving and taking, which I think is very, very beautiful. And I hope it continues. And and we'll see how life.
And then I have a friend who saw it Friday with her family, and she manages a Starbucks in the city, and she said, it's been the buzz in the Starbucks. she has the thumb, the pulse of New York in Starbucks. She hears what's
Well, that's great. Thank you all for your support, honestly, for coming to the show, coming to the dinner, and for your words today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Enough. Love you all.